Alright guys, so today I am going to be doing a Bolo 411 video. It has been a while since I have done one of these types of videos, but you probably will be starting to see more of them as yard sale season comes to an end. I'm going to have to start thinking of new videos to keep posting, so I have footage for you guys. I will probably starting to be going back to some thrift stores. I've been tossing around the idea of going back to the Goodwill bins because it's been a while for that as well. But this video is going to be a Bolo 411 video, and if you watched any of my other Bolo 411 videos, I kind of just take either a category or a brand or a certain type of item and I share solds of the specific item that I go over in the video. So this one is going to be centered around board games. Board games are a category that I don't pick up super often, but it is something that I will look at when I am at yard sales and thrift stores and stuff like that. There are some board games obviously that sell for a lot of money, and then there are some board games that, you know, obviously aren't worth as much. So with board games, if your item is sealed, you'll probably get more money for it. If it is complete, you'll probably get more money for it. Now, on the other hand of that spectrum, there are plenty of people who sell just parts to board games as replacements for people who may have lost a certain piece, or maybe they purchased a board game at a thrift store, but it was missing a certain piece and that kind of thing. They go on eBay looking specifically for a part or piece to the missing board game that they have. So the ones that I'm going to go over, I have a list. These are all sold. I found these all in solds, and I try to make sure when I'm doing these that this isn't just like a one-off thing. So I tend to grab things that there are multiple of the item that has sold in such a high price range, not just randomly, you know, there's this one thing that sells for like an insane amount of money, because you just never know if that item, one, got paid for, or two, if there's some sort of like money laundering or something like that going on. So this is just a list of some of the ones that I was seeing that was selling for the highest, and that's what I like to do when I go through these bolos, is the highest ones, because those are the funnest. Who wouldn't want to make this kind of money off of a board game, right? So we're just gonna get into the list here. First one I have on my list is a board game called Dark Tower. So this is an older board game. I want to say maybe it was from the 80s, and it definitely seemed that this game was selling for high prices regardless. This one particularly sold for $419.95. I definitely feel like this game, if you would find it, probably the chances of it all being there, I feel like this would be a game that you would end up, you know, not finding it complete. But I have never seen a lot of these games out in the wild, so I'm assuming they're a little bit harder to find and come across. But as with anything, you never know what you can find when you are outsourcing. So there's a chance that one of you guys might have found one of these games before, or it's in your death pile and you have no idea what you're sitting on. So that was an amazing price for that. And as I said, other ones that I was seeing even further down were still selling very, very high. Next one we have is a game called Mansions of Madness. This game sold for $405. Now, it seemed like when I was going through and looking at sold games that were selling really high, there were a lot of RPG type games, like role-playing games, and a lot of games that people bring out as like Kickstarter type games and stuff along those lines. So definitely, if you're out and about and you see games and you come across a game you've never heard of before, definitely take the time to look it up, because it may be one of those like Kickstarter type of games. Because a lot of the games that I was seeing, I never recognized any of them. I don't really follow, you know, new releases on board games and stuff like that. So a lot of these I did not recognize at all. But if I did see them, you know, my brain would think like, oh, what is that? I've never heard of that before. And, you know, take the time to look it up. Next game we have is called Hero Quest. Again, this one was probably like an 80s, like from the 80s game. And again, well, this one sold for $349.95. But as I was going down through, you know, other ones were selling for very high prices, just like this particular one that sold. The next one is a Monopoly game. This one is the Franklin Mint Monopoly version. This sold for $295. I remember seeing these advertisements in like magazines of the Franklin Mint Monopoly. They're this gorgeous wooden board, and then, you know, the drawers would come out and you would keep, you know, all of the playing pieces and the money and stuff in there. And it was always so expensive in the magazine advertisements. And I always just thought like that Monopoly game was made for rich people. Like, rich people owned that Monopoly game. And it still is worth a lot of money. So like I said, this one sold for $295. So I've never come across a Franklin Mint game yet, and if I did, I'd probably want to keep that for myself. Next we have another vintage from the 80s game called Tornado Rex. This sold for $325. I was an 80s child and I don't remember Tornado Rex. I was more into, obviously, the girlier, I guess, type games. So yeah, I've never seen this one before. I feel like I've heard of it, like the name kind of rang a bell, but I definitely never owned it and definitely never played it. And I definitely never came across it that I'm aware of. Hopefully not. Hopefully I never walked past Tornado Rex while out and about. Next we have a Pokemon game. So this is kind of a no-brainer, really. I feel like anytime I see Pokemon, I just try and look it up just to make sure. This game was called Pokemon Master Trainer. That sold for $320. So with some of these games, I was trying to find ones that weren't sealed, just because I feel like coming across a sealed vintage game is going to be like a needle in a haystack type of situation, but you just never know. So some of these, and you'll probably be able to see in the picture whether or not they were sealed. Next we have, and I was seeing this game a lot. This was a Battlestar Galactica game that sold for $315. And as I was going down the list, I was consistently seeing this game selling for a very, very, very high price. So this is like a, I guess, like science fiction type game. But again, I've never seen it while out and about. Next we have another vintage, I believe from the 80s game called Fireball Island. That sold for $279. So it definitely seems like some of these more like electronic or I don't know if Hero Quest was a role-playing game or not, but just those types of games seem to be very popular. People wanting back the games that they had from their childhood or want to play those games with their children now and that kind of thing. So yeah, Fireball Island, I never played that one either. Next we have a game called Ticket to Ride. Now this game is still available to purchase. This specific one is the one to look out for. This is the Ticket to Ride, and it'll say 10th, I think it's 10th anniversary edition or 10th edition. It has 10th on the box. That sold for $264, and I was consistently seeing that one sell for a very high amount. So if you would come across this game, make sure you're looking for the 10th on the box, because not every Ticket to Ride game is worth the kind of money this specific one is worth. Because I had to look it up myself. I was like, I swear I see this game all the time, and I know I have seen this game, and I'm just hoping it wasn't the 10th anniversary edition, because I didn't know that they were worth anything, because I just assumed, well, I thought was a newer game. But yeah, this 10th edition one is the one to look out for. Next game we have is called Forbidden Bridge. Again, I think vintage from the 80s. That sold for $179.99, but again, a game I never played and one that I don't think I've ever come across. This next one was pretty cool. It's called Hotels, and I was seeing this one consistently sell for a lot of money as well. This one in particular sold for $150, though I did see some sell for more than that. But again, I had never heard of it until I did this Bolo 411 video. So it's just interesting to see just how many games are out there. And like, I'm only doing so many. Like, I could make multiple versions of this type of video going over other games that, you know, maybe aren't selling for hundreds of dollars, but still, if you're picking them up for $1 or $2, would definitely be, you know, making you some money if it sells for like 40 or 50 kind of thing. So maybe we'll go over board games again in another Bolo 411 video. This next one I actually sold before. This one is the Trump board game. That sold for $145.50. My next door neighbor had this game that she wanted me to list for her, which I did, and it sold. So that's definitely one to look out for. So yeah, I know some people might not like the fact that it's a Trump game, but you know, if you're finding it for $1 and you don't want to make $145.50 off of it, I'll do it. So that was, you know, one that I knew about only because I have sold the game before as well. And the last one that I have on my list is called Omega Virus. Again, vintage, I do believe, from the 80s game that I had never heard of. You know, I don't know if this is a vintage game or not. That sold for $91, but I will say, as I was going through, I did see other ones sell for more than $91. So, as with anything, make sure before you list something, you do your research, you look it up, make sure you're listing it for, you know, what you are comfortable getting. Because I do feel sometimes people don't take that extra step of looking up their items, and then I'll see them post on like an eBay Facebook group like, why did my item sell as soon as I listed it? And then come to find out it was worth so much more money, and then they get upset that, you know, they listed it so cheap and that kind of thing. So always do your research beforehand. And as far as board games go, and figuring out if all of the pieces are there, if you can't find that information within the game or like an instruction manual or anything like that, a lot of times you can just go on Google and search for the game, and sometimes even in like the Wikipedia pages you can find a listing of all of the pieces that would have been in the game. I actually did that with a game that I had to sell. The game had nothing on it that told you how many of each, I think it was like a card. It had no amount of each card that it should have had. So I just did a quick Google search and was able to find that information fairly easily. So just throwing that out there if you ever come across the game and you can't tell if you have all the pieces or not. But yeah, that is everything that I have for this board game Bolo 411 video. Hopefully you guys learned a little something new that you might not have known about. Maybe next time you go to the thrift store, you find one of these, and then you can come back to my video and be like, Michelle, I found a Dark Tower board game, 100% complete. Thank you, I made $419. Like, I like helping you guys. I'm learning as well, and I like to be able to pass along the knowledge that I am learning, because it's all a learning process. Reselling is. Learn something new every single day, and it's impossible to know absolutely everything. Impossible. So if you ever come across someone who thinks they know everything, tell them they don't, because it's just not humanly possible to know everything. But I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. Hopefully, like, when you saw this, you were like, yeah, Michelle made another Bolo 411 video. I like hearing you guys' comments down in the comment section. It really helps me, like, keep that motivation going. That is everything for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments if you have any suggestions for Bolo 411 videos, as well as any board games that you may have sold for decent money. Let us know down in the comments. I know I did have a suggestion to do one on VHS tapes, so if that sounds like a fun one for you guys, I can do one of those soon as well. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time.